everyone, it's Caroline. Welcome back or welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about college finals. I know, scary, isn't it? Anyway, today I'm going to be giving you some of my best tips and tricks for studying for your college finals that have worked for me and have worked for a lot of other college students that I know. Now, I just want to put this out as a disclaimer that not all of these tips are going to work for everybody. Everybody learns differently. Everybody has different things that work for them best. So don't expect all of these to work for you. But I'm sure there's going to be a few that you can pick and choose that will definitely work to your advantage once you start studying for your finals. Last year I was a college freshman and I was able to experience my first semester with normal in-person finals and then my second semester with sudden online learning and online finals. I kind of understand the process of both, whether you're taking finals in person or online. I hope that these tips and tricks work for you, and let's get on with the video. My first tip is do not, and I mean do not procrastinate. Now, I'm sure all of you have heard this 100 times that you should never procrastinate, but then you'll end up doing it anyway, and then you end up being fine. Trust me, I was the same way. I always procrastinate, and then everything ends up being okay, right? No. Just don't do that for college finals, because if you somehow end up being that small percentage of people that still do fine when they procrastinate in college, most of us aren't that way. Even when you procrastinate, it's just gonna end up making you even more stressed, and when you're stressed, you're not gonna be able to work as well. It's just very overwhelming. So please, don't procrastinate. If you're watching this video now, this is a sign that you should start studying for your finals, if you haven't had them yet, at least. My second tip is to create a study schedule. I didn't do it my first semester and I was kind of all over the place. So when I created a study schedule during my second semester, it definitely helped me out because I had everything laid out. I told myself, okay, you're going to devote this time for this certain subject for this amount of time, then you're going to move on. Some of my tips within this one is not to just cram in one subject in one day. Don't cram one whole course and think, okay, this is good. Try to divide up your time so you're kind of switching up your subjects throughout the day while you're studying, and do that for multiple days. That way, you'll be able to use your time more efficiently and it'll definitely help out your studying in the end. My third tip is know what your best study environment is. This is extremely important because everyone works better in different type of settings. I know for me, I always tried to get out of my dorm room because I could not concentrate there. First of all, this is a side note, the thing that bothered me the most about my dorm room was the fluorescent light. It hurt my eyes so much, and I don't know why, but it really did. I didn't like it. I couldn't concentrate in my room, so I always would go to the library to study or to any study rooms within my residence hall. Those were the best places for me to study. But by far, the worst place to study, whether it's in high school, in college, whatever year you are, do not study in your bed because it will not end well. I know throughout high school, I always loved to do my homework in my bed because I wanted to be comfortable and I was just tired after a long day of high school. It would always end in me falling asleep on top of my books, notebooks, or whatever they were. I would always fall asleep. And I know a lot of people do the same thing and it just never works well for them because you're a little too comfortable, and if you're super tired, you're just gonna knock out. I can't snap. Just try to pick the best study environment for you, know what works best for you, and try to go to that place. That way you'll feel much more calm and in the zone once you start studying. My fourth tip is going to be don't rely too much on your outside resources. What I mean by this is I'm sure there are some of you who have the great opportunity of having an open note or open everything exam. As great as those are, don't think that, oh, it's open note, I don't have to study. No, that's not going to work well, especially if you have a time limit for your exam. It's not going to work well in your favor because you're going to be spending spending so much time flipping through your notes that you're probably not even going to get halfway through your test, because flipping through all of those notes is going to take time. Don't rely on that. Study beforehand. Just trust me on that. You don't want to do that, because I did that. Let me tell you, it did not work well in my favor. My last tip here is to take advantage of your resources. I know in a way it might sound like I'm contradicting that last tip I told you guys about not relying too much on your resources, but you really do need to take advantage of the resources that are given to you at the same time. Whether it's going to office hours before they close and before the final exams, go to office hours. I rarely did, but when I did, it helped me so much. So please go to office hours. It will really help you if you are struggling in some sort of course. Make sure you ask questions, whether it's at office hours or through email. Make sure you ask any questions you have so that you aren't freaking out last minute for your exam thinking, oh my gosh, wait, do I have to do this? What about this? What does this mean? And any other resources that are given to you by your professor, whether it's getting a practice exam, getting some extra problems done that weren't assigned to you, or if you're given a study guide, look at that study guide and follow it. All of these resources are given to you to help you. So please, please take advantage of those resources. To end that point, do not do the bare minimum. You're going to actually put a little more work and effort into it if you really want to get that good grade on your final. On that note, we are going to move on to my tips for when it is time to study. My first one is to look through all of your notes, whether it's notes you wrote down or typed out on your computer, any extra PowerPoint lecture notes that you were given throughout the semester. Look through all of them, because it's going to be important for the next step, which is to rewrite or reorganize your notes. Personally, what I found worked for me is rewriting my notes and color coding it while I rewrote them. What I would do is I looked through all my notes and I found key ideas that I knew were important for me to know. And then I would use a separate notebook and just rewrite all of those notes, color code. That way I had a much shorter set of notes that I could easily look at and be able to get those key ideas that I needed to know. I will probably show you guys a before and after set of my calculus notes from my first semester. If you don't think rewriting your notes is going to help you, reorganize them. And when I say reorganize them, I would say try to highlight or underline keywords and key points that you need to know for the exam. That way, when you're studying, you know what's important and what's not as important. My next one is don't overlook what you think you know. If there are any topics that you think you really know, skim through it a little bit. Just look at it at least once when you're studying. So that way, it's still kind of fresh in your mind. Then you won't be thinking during the exam, oh my gosh, I should have looked at it. My next tip is to study in groups. I know during the circumstances now, it's a little bit harder to meet in person and study all together as people normally would. If you do decide to study in a group, make sure that you're doing it safely by social distancing or even doing it virtually. Even if you don't study in a group, try talking to someone about what you're learning, whether it's a roommate, a friend over the phone, anything like that can definitely help some people, because when you start teaching someone else what you're trying to study, you'll be able to remember it a lot better than if you just studied on your own and didn't even talk about it. My last tip in this section is to be efficient when you're studying. This is very important, because if you're not efficient when you're studying, you are wasting your time. If you do not put your phone away, if you keep going on social media or whatever it is that distracts you, put it away. You need to put it away, because it's not going to be helpful to you when you're studying at all. Another thing to go on with being efficient is if you feel like something isn't working, stop and regroup. Whether it's your study environment or study method that you're using. My last section, they're just some final thoughts and pieces of advice I have for when you're studying for your finals. My first one for this one is don't just study for the A. Don't just study just to get a good grade in a class. I know getting a good grade is very important for your GPA, and your GPA can be very important for whether you're applying to internships or different programs, med school, law school, any of that. I understand that, but at the same time, if you're just studying for an A, you're not going to remember for probably most of what you're studying because it's just not going to be important to you. If you're taking all of these courses for your major and you're just studying for the grade, how is that going to help you in your career? It's not. Also, I know some gen eds can be a little boring sometimes, but try to at least see some interesting aspects in the course so that way you can keep your energy up and just keep that motivation going for when you're studying. If you want to forget about it afterwards, go ahead. My next one for this is going to be taking study breaks. It is so important to take breaks when you're studying. If we go back to creating a study schedule, make sure you set aside some time to take breaks. You have to see what works for you. You don't want to burn yourself out studying, so that may take some trial and error, especially if you're trying this out for the first time. Maybe you can study for 30 minutes and then take a 10-minute break, or you can study for an hour and then take a 20-minute break. Whatever works best for you, do it. My next tip is to breathe. Breathe. It is so important because if you're just constantly go, study, and you don't take time to just catch a breath and relax, it's not going to work well for you. Practice some self-care. Just clear your mind for a few minutes. This could be during a break or just like by the end of the day. Anytime you feel like you're really getting overwhelmed and it's just too much for you, just stop and take a breath and you will feel so much better. My next tip is to get lots of rest. Between the days you're studying or the night before your exam, make sure you're getting enough sleep. I know as college students, it can be very difficult to get enough sleep. I know when I was in school last year, I was probably getting anywhere between 3 and 5 hours of sleep a night. Wow, just saying that out loud is terrifying. No wonder I was a hot mess by the end of the semester. And you don't want to be a hot mess by the end of the semester because that's when you have your finals. My final tip for this video is do your best. In the end, if you know that you did everything in your power to study for those finals and you set yourself up for success, that's all that matters. You need to go into your final knowing that you're going to do your best. You're going to give your best effort into that final, and that's all you could ever do. Knowing that you did your best is all you can ever do. You can't go into your final saying, oh, I need to get that A because I did all this work. If you did all that work and you don't end up getting an A on your final, that doesn't mean you didn't do your best. You did your best. You can't do more than your best because that's not realistically attainable, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. I think I rambled a lot there. I'm sorry about that. With that, that concludes this video of all of my study tips and tricks for college finals. I really hope that you guys take a few of these tips and tricks into consideration when you're studying for your finals, because I know all of these helped me in some way and they helped me get that boost in my overall grade and my overall GPA. Definitely consider these tips and tricks when you're starting to study for your finals, and I wish you the best of luck. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you're interested in seeing more, and comment down below what's one of your favorite study tips and tricks that I may or may not have mentioned in this video. I also wanted to end this video by just saying that you guys are all going to do amazing on your finals. I believe in you guys so much. You're all working and studying through such a hard time in our lives. Just know that you're doing your best, especially under these circumstances. Well, I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!
We could be dancing in the stars, we could be floating on away, as long as I'm safely in your arms, and it don't really matter where we stay, 'cause babe,